I would rather be homeless in America, right? That type of opportunity, it says a lot, and I think I try to never take my opportunity of being here in America for granted, because I think it's really easy to, but there are people who are willing to give up a roof over their head to be here.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'd rather be homeless in America than go live somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that it seems like a cliche, but that's actually what he was living.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah. So I know that your dad passed away not that long ago, but that what you saw in his experience with healthcare,
right,
and the healthcare system, kind of inspired you and helped determine how you've gone in your path.
Right.
Maybe can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So unfortunately, my dad passed away during COVID, and it was already a traumatic experience of not being able to go in the hospitals, understandably trying to protect people.
Americans are capable of achieving extraordinary things when they have the freedom and opportunity to do so. This is American Potential.
Hello and welcome to the American Potential Podcast. I'm your host, David Fromm. We're recording today from American for Prosperity's National Convention, where staff from all over the country are getting together. So we thought, what better time to sit down and talk with some of them? Our guest today gets to help others chase their American dream, and it's personal for her, because that's exactly what her father did. He decided to leave his home country of Guatemala because he wanted something more opportunity, more freedom, more for his future family than what he could be offered back home. He knew it wouldn't be easy to learn a new language or adjust to a new country, but to him, building a legacy was worth every challenge. Now, his daughter, through her work, gets to help others do the same. I want to welcome Monet Bacs, who is the strategic director for the LIBRE Initiative, onto the podcast to share her dad's story. Monet, welcome.
Thank you so much, David, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited you're here. I'm so excited to be with all of our colleagues.
I bet. It's a great opportunity.
There's so many people that just do such meaningful work. And, I have the privilege of talking to people like you who have just cool stories that, there's all these cool stories walking around here that we work with all the time. And then to be able to bring some of them out and be inspired by them is just really fabulous and a privilege for me.
Absolutely.
And then I'll go around and tell everybody all about them. So what did your dad tell you about growing up in Guatemala?
Yeah, he loved his country. Beautiful country. I've been a couple of times. But it didn't have the same opportunities as America, right? When he was growing up there, it was a very safe country. Unfortunately, that has changed a lot. But his father really instilled in him the idea of the American dream, working hard for your family, coming to this country and really making something for himself. I do love the stories of my dad, though, when he was a kid of, climbing up the mango trees or the guava trees. That's not something we have in Arizona. We have Palo Verde trees. So very, very different childhood.
Close second, I guess.
Exactly. But yeah, he had an amazing childhood for sure.
Yeah. So I think that, if I understand correctly, your grandfather has had a really amazing influence. Can
Absolutely.
you kind of tease that out for me?
Yeah, I think really our journey starts at my grandfather and the conversations he had with my dad about small government and communism. And he kind of learned that through his experiences of traveling to Cuba. My grandfather was a professional soccer coach, and he had the opportunity to travel there. One evening, this story left a huge impact on our family. He saw a homeless man on the side of the street, and he gave him basically just the change he had in his pocket. Later that evening, he was in his hotel room, and the authorities came to his room and said, if you ever do that again, you won't leave this country, and we'll make sure you don't make it home to your family.
Wow, for giving him change.
So that meant he was also being watched, right? So, my grandfather came home and was really kind of traumatized by this experience, because even in Guatemala, nothing like that had happened, right? And so, the saying that my grandfather left my dad with is if you see communism coming to you, you fight or flee, because he didn't want that for his family, especially seeing what had happened in Cuba.
Well, and that was unfortunately, a real reality in that time period. I mean, there's so many of the nations, and we've talked to, some of your colleagues actually, or you grew up in Cuba or Nicaragua or other places, and then, obviously El Salvador had a lot going on like that, and, Honduras. So I can't imagine saying to my kid, like, hey, if you ever see communism coming, fight or flee. But that was a reality they had to face. And, it seems like I'm really struck by the courage of just regular people who are there in that situation, and then how they dealt with it, and the incredible effects that have on descendants or their kids or others. So.
It's lasting to me, because I just think about how many generations these ideas can get passed through. I'm very fortunate that, based on some of these experiences my grandfather had and my father had, now today I'm able to work in a space where I get to do that. Yeah,
it's an amazing legacy. Yeah, it really is. So, tell me when did your dad come to America? Kind of how did that go?
Yeah, so he came here as a foreign exchange student. He loved his experience. He always said, the best time in his life was in high school. He didn't speak English at the time, right? He played soccer. He came here on a soccer scholarship. He had a host family, really, really sweet people. But, my dad used to joke that, even when I came here, the dog didn't even understand me. So he actually went to Illinois. He was in Aurora, Illinois.
Oh,
and I know.
15 minutes from where I live.
Yeah. And so Chicago and all that held a really special place in his heart. So really awesome experience, but a very big change for him, going from Guatemala to a small town in Illinois.
Yeah, to the Midwest.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, now there is a thriving, long-time Hispanic community in Aurora. I doubt many folks from Central America, though, but that's really fascinating. That's great. I'd love to hear about that. So I imagine it was such a change for him. I mean, what did he think about it?
Yeah. So coming here to America, he was very grateful for the opportunity he had, but looking around, and we are so much more convoluted than it used to be. But even then, he was even more grateful for the opportunity he got, because he realized not everyone had that opportunity, right? I like to share this story. It's funny, but it was a real event for people coming to this country, of what that looks like and some of the barriers. So my dad was also on the track team really early on, didn't speak any English. They're out in some of the cornfields, I'm sure you're familiar with, right? They're running, and he gets away from the rest of the clan, and he gets lost. And, he's kind of just waiting for something to happen at this point. A police officer pulls up alongside him. Unfortunately, a couple miles down the road was an insane asylum.
Oh, my.
And this police officer thought he was crazy. And this is years ago, right? Over 50 years ago. And so he was going to get taken back to the insane asylum, because they didn't understand that he was just speaking Spanish, right? So thankfully, they were able to get a hold of his host family. But these are real things that happen to immigrants, especially at the time.
Yeah.
And I loved when my dad would, share these stories of how much he had to overcome just to create this life for his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
It's a very fascinating story.
I've talked to a few different people recently who have come here and didn't speak English, and how they had to. I feel like that's almost insurmountable. I know it's not, but to me, that would be incredible, especially as a teenager.
Yeah.
To be here, new place, not knowing the language. Like, man, I give them so much credit. It takes special people to be able to kind of deal with that and overcome. And I think it is part of the great immigrant story that's built America, because that's been going on for a century or more. But man, that's to hear it up close is kind of funny. Especially, he was probably jogged into Sugar Grove, which is right next to Aurora, where all the cornfields are. So,
that's too funny.
So, what are some of the things that he taught you from his experience of being in Guatemala and then being in coming to America?
He really taught us how to work hard, really set vision for your family. I think that's probably the best gift that our dad gave us, because you have to see beyond the moment, right? And he really did. There was a time where he was in college, and he had to choose between his scholarship ran out, and he had the opportunity, go back home, and he was comfortable back home, or be homeless and stay here. And so my dad was homeless for a little while, just trying to make it here in America. And that really sticks with me. And my dad also had a really soft spot for homeless people. That's another thing he taught us was, take care of those around you. Yeah. So that's another, I think, important part of the immigrant story and my dad's immigrant story is this idea of, I would rather be homeless in America, right, that type of opportunity, it says a lot. And I think I try to never take my opportunity of being here in America for granted, because I think it's really easy to, but there are people who are willing to give up a roof over their head to be here.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'd rather be homeless in America than go live somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that it seems like a cliche, but that's actually what he was living.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah. So I know that your dad passed away not that long ago, but that what you saw in his experience with healthcare and the healthcare system kind of inspired you and helped determine how you've gone in your path. Right. Maybe can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So unfortunately, my dad passed away during COVID, and it was already a traumatic experience of not being able to go in the hospitals, understandably trying to protect people, but there was such a shortage. There wasn't as much access to healthcare, the affordability of it. I mean, I saw not just my dad, but it was just blatant throughout the entire hospitals how much families were struggling and how broken our healthcare system is. And that was really eye-opening for me. I've always been a Politico. I love, I've been a free market girl my whole life. But it's not until something really slaps you in the face and you go, oh my gosh, the policy impacts every aspect of our life, and it's so important to do something about it. And I didn't realize how impactful the healthcare system is to families in times of need, right? And so from that experience of watching my dad really suffer, unfortunately, because he didn't have the care that he needed, watching families, have to shut down their businesses, make life-altering changes just to get by through that time, I said, all right, it's time for me to step up, because it's not, I love policy, but we have to look at policy through multiple lenses, and healthcare is a big part of that, and making sure that people have, healthcare that they can access and is affordable as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge challenge for this nation.
Right.
It is. We're a bit of an outlier, and some other nations even on that. And I thought, unfortunately, COVID just brought that into focus.
Absolutely.
My father-in-law passed away during COVID too, and he got some of the best care, and it was still terrible. And it was just like, it was just tragic. And I think it was such a indictment at times of the system that's kind of set up. And I appreciate that as an organization we've offered solutions in ways that we feel like that kind of the healthcare policy could be reformed to try to have better outcomes, because it's not just like passing better policy. It's not even really just saving money or anything. It's having better those outcomes are that people live or have a quality of life.
Absolutely.
And that's so, it's about the most important thing that we could probably work on. Absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons I was so drawn to this organization, is because we're really focused on, to your point, not just advocacy, but what are the outcomes for families? What are the real life stories? How do we help people? And again, it's this, focusing on education, the economy, all this is important, but the fact that we step into the healthcare game as well, and we take these stories, we go into the community, and we do it through that free market lens also. Yeah. I mean, that's why this place is home for me, for sure.
So you work for the LIBRE Initiative.
Yes.
And maybe tell some of our listeners, they don't know what the LIBRE Initiative is all about. And
Absolutely.
Then, what do you enjoy doing? Like what inspires you? What makes you excited to get up every day and kind of keep working?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I absolutely love my role as strategic director, but particularly working with the LIBRE Initiative is such a special thing. I happened to stumble upon an event, and I was like, I'm quitting my job and I want to be like a full-time volunteer with this organization. I love it. Luckily, I met Stephen Shadig, who's a state director in Arizona, and he was like, hey, you got to come on the team, which was a great opportunity, and it's been history ever since. But it's a really special organization, especially for the Hispanic community, because we focus on the issues that are really impacting our community. And that's because we've had conversations with people in our community. So focusing on the economy, small government, business, healthcare, and of course, immigration. Mm-hmm. And it just stole my heart, because these are the issues that have directly impacted my family. And every day I get to wake up and I get to go help other families. I do like to also just point out, because it's something that I love doing, is working with our sister organization, the LIBRE Institute. We are able to offer, English classes. That connects so closely to my heart, and my dad's story of helping families come to this country. They want to work hard. And it's just one of those things where we can hopefully help remove that barrier so that they can maybe, get an advancement in their job, or even in the healthcare system. Being able to communicate with, your doctors more directly is monumental. And so I'm super grateful that we were able to offer that.
Well, I've been fortunate to be in a few of our offices where we have LIBRE chapters, and to be there in the evening when there's a English as a second language class going on and being hosted. And it's always so compelling to me because here's these people sitting there like trying so hard to be Americans, to succeed in the society, to succeed for their family and themselves. And they're sitting there in this classroom, learning English. And I think it's a very worthwhile thing. I think it'd be much harder to succeed in America without English.
Right.
But they're there doing it, and I just give them so much credit. And it's just inspiring to me that, that they're sitting there doing that work so that they can keep building and building. And they're also going to contribute to society in a great way too.
Absolutely.
What's your so you're based in Arizona. What is your favorite thing that you've been working on with LIBRE? I mean, you guys do work on a lot of inspiring issues and projects, but what's really spoken to your heart?
I would say probably the most transformational thing we've done, and just a great win, exciting for us, was passing the tamale bill in Arizona. So
sounds tasty.
Of course. Who doesn't like a good tamale, right?
No one. Bad people, maybe.
So, and I would welcome anyone to come to Arizona if they haven't had a good one, because I think we have the best, but I'm biased. So in Arizona, we passed this bill. It's a cottage food home bill. So what that means is businesses who make some perishable foods out of their house can now legally sell them in Arizona. So before this bill, it was actually illegal to sell these tamales. And we all have our favorite tamale lady down the street. We know her, we love her. And it was really important for us that these people who are working hard and want to contribute to society in a great way have the legal channel to do this. We had a ton of, stats and science backing our stance as well. Before us, there were 5 other states that had tried this, and not one foodborne illness had broken out. And so it was, hey, we want to give these individuals an opportunity. It especially impacted, women and elderly communities because they're trying to provide for their family, and it's a great way to start a business, but also be there for your families. So it was really near and dear to my heart that we saw this. The first year we ran it, we weren't able to get it across the finish line. We tried to do a veto override. Unfortunately, it was not successful, but that drove out the community, which is a great opportunity for us. And we were able to really push our governor into a corner. And the next year we were able to pass it. So it was a great win for us. Really, really exciting work.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to look forward to having tamales. So what do you think, looking back, it's clear from talking to you that, your dad's been a real inspiration to you, and, he's your dad.
Yeah.
What else can you say about that? But what would he say about the work that you're doing right now and his perspective on that, especially with drawing on his life experience?
Yeah. I get choked up. My dad passed away about 6 months before I took the job with LIBRE. And I just envision him in our office, dancing, having a great time, loving the volunteers. He would have, this was his life's dream, and his life's work was being able to provide for his family and contribute to society. And so being in this role and being able to give back and help other people achieve their American dream, one would have meant everything to him, which makes me proud, right? Because I just wanted to see him happy because I saw how hard he worked.
Yeah. And
so every day waking up, going to work, knowing that I'm living out my dad's legacy is everything to me. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work in this network.
Well, we're so glad that you're such a great contributor in this network. And there's so many people with you with amazing stories that I get to meet, and it's so fabulous. But, I wish I could have met your dad. Yeah. And I'm so glad you're carrying on his legacy.
Thank you.
And changing people's lives throughout Arizona and the country. And we really appreciate it. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me, David. We really appreciate it.
That's great. Well, hey, it's stories like Monet's dad that are inspiring because even at the age of 16, he knew America was going to be the best place to raise his family due to all the opportunities America offers. If you like this episode and would like to stay connected with the podcast, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, as well as following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And always remember, liberty and freedom are easily taken for granted. Don't take it for granted. Go out there and defend freedom and liberty. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to American Potential. You may listen to more stories from Americans working every day to expand freedom and opportunity in their communities by visiting AmericanPotential.com.